FatSammy, how are you?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Anytime, man. Thanks for joining.
No problem, man. Obviously, I've spoken to you before on the Pulse Bitcoin chat, and been following your channel. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. I can't wait to get into it. It seems like quite a story. So tell me,
The Pulse Bitcoin story. Yeah.
the saga. So what is Pulse Bitcoin, and when did you get involved?
Pulse Bitcoin. So Pulse Bitcoin was a project that came out of. So I would say, let me start from the beginning. During the bear market, when Bitcoin kind of topped out and the whole market started going down, there was an airdrop to hexagons at the time, and it was called Pulse Dogecoin, and it was quite a large amount of Pulse Doge. It was kind of like the largest airdrop. It was like an airdrop worth a few $100s if you had some hex stakes. And it was kind of a nice distribution because it was kind of fairly distributed, where it kind of rewarded the middle holders more than the whales. The whales got a smaller amount. The tiny shrimps got a smaller amount, but it kind of rewarded mostly the kind of people in the middle, the average person. So a lot of people got airdropped Pulse Doge, had a look at it. Most hexagons I know sold it, and then kind of took the 200, 300 bucks, whatever it was, and kind of moved on, did whatever. Some people were getting like 700 bucks, but I was one of those people where I took the money, dumped it, went and bought something else, and then I kind of came back and had a look at the chart, and I was like, that's interesting. It looks like it's doing pretty well, because at the time, the whole market was just going down. Everything was going down. This was kind of the height of the bear market. And this thing, it launched at $1, which is quite an ambitious price to launch at. Supply of like 7 million tokens, I believe.
The
Doge. Pulse Doge, yeah. And after that kind of initial sell-off, it started to do quite well. And I joined the Telegram chat, and it was the first kind of crypto Telegram chat I kind of joined, because I was on Telegram for other communities. And I noticed they had a really vibrant kind of community in there. A lot of kind of big kind of hex sharks were in there, and it was just a really positive vibe, that this was going to be the next, meme coin. And it did pretty well. It went from like $1 up to $5, up to $7, back to $2. So, it was a really good place to make money for a kind of basic pump and dump kind of, remind me of pump and dump.
I remember that time period. It was going between like $2 and $7, like up and down, like a few cycles. And
yeah. So that's kind of like where I met the community. And there was a guy called Pepe in there, and he, very charismatic chap. And he kind of started opening this voice chat, and it was kind of running all the time, every day. And it was the kind of, you have obviously like, the PulseChain chat and the Hex chat and stuff like that. But at the time, this was kind of like a manageable size where people could actually speak properly, and it was just a cool place to hang out and, learn a lot of knowledge. And there was a lot of guys talking about LP, how to provide LP, all sorts of stuff. So it was just kind of a vibrant place to hang out. The tokenomics were cool, and it was a lot of fun. So that's how I kind of got involved. And then obviously the two devs that developed that product, they then went on to release around Christmas time, I believe it was, of 2023, release Pulse Bitcoin, which they kind of released the white paper, and it was really exciting because it was like, I used to be a Bitcoin maxi. I love Bitcoin, and it was kind of like basically a DeFi Bitcoin, right? So kind of that's what it's all about. I mean, it's got, instead of having a proof of work mining, it had proof of stake, so it was utilizing the new kind of staking Ethereum network. It had kind of, it wasn't eating up expensive electricity,
right?
Traditional mining takes. So it was, and you don't have to buy the hardware. So it was just becoming unaffordable to mine, kind of in the traditional sense. So it was the perfect timing in the market, and also it kind of had its own halvings where it kind of halved based on the amount mined rather than kind of a set 4 years like normal Bitcoin.
Right.
So that kind of enables it to have like a lot faster halving. So that's kind of what it is, and kind of how I kind of got involved, I guess.
So just to go back a little bit, this group chat, this Pepe, how did you find him or he find you? Again,
Oh, I was just hanging out in the
in that chat.
in the group chat, and he's very good speaker,
Okay.
very charismatic, and I think that was also one of the things about that community. We had very charismatic people in there,
Right. And
and I think
was he connected to the project in any way?
no, he was just an investor.
Okay.
You know,
I told you
in
about
terms
it.
of in terms of actual one of the founders, HexInfo, he would come in the chat, in the Pulse Doge chat, on a rare occasion, I seem to remember. But he was very hands off. You know, I think he had a Twitter account at the time, and he was known for being quite verbal on Twitter.
Okay.
And I think sometimes that kind of clashed with the community. And I think that was an important kind of thing that evolved as the kind of thing went on, as we moved into Pulse Bitcoin, is if you want to have a DeFi Bitcoin, and if you're talking about DeFi, right, really you kind of don't have a centralized leader. So, you know, a lot of these kind of projects, they have either a founder dev or a non-dev founder, right? And I think the problem with that is if you truly are decentralized, like a lot of products out there are technically DeFi because they're on decentralized exchanges, but they're still relying on like a head honcho who developed the product or is kind of the face of the project. And I think that has its weaknesses, because then it only takes that guy, as we saw with Richard Hart, kind of flooding eHex. You know, it takes one tweet to crash your chart. You know,
Right.
so he kind of had after. I think the community kind of gave him a bit of feedback because he was clashing with some people, and he decided to step back.
Who's he? The founder of PLSB?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
What
there was two of them.
what was his
But he was the
name?
only one we knew about.
Or what was their
His
name?
His name was HexInfo, and there was another guy.
HexInfo.
Name began with K, but I can't remember his name.
Okay.
It was on the white paper, but I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah,
And they
And I
were
think-
they were
I think
open
they- I
about
think
it in
it's
the
called
beginning in
HexInfo.
terms of they were the creators originally, but they stepped back.
yeah, they were the ones that wrote the code. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Why did they step back?
Only because I think people were kind of saying like,
For those reasons you just
so at the time, right? You got to understand the kind of climate of the time. So when Pulse Bitcoin came out in the first halving, you were able to mine 7.5% a month, right?
right.
Which was crazy returns. So it was like you were getting almost 4x what the T-share rate was giving you. So it was outperforming Hex in terms of what you're getting back per year, like by 4 times or 3.7.
It was outperforming
times, I
at
think.
Hex. Yeah.
So, well, in terms of rewards in what you paid, you know, so it was
Right.
outperforming the T-share by 375%. So at the time, it was really strange because this is before PulseChain had launched. You still had this kind of very like tribal attitude with hexagons. So whereas they were kind of like positive about a load of projects, suddenly they were very like suddenly they were a bit weird about Pulse Bitcoin because it was kind of offering such. It was almost like competition for the T shares for the Hex at the time,
Okay.
and because they were in a downtrend, I think they kind of got a bit, how'd you put it, like threatened. So I think kind of the community felt a bit rejected by the hexagons at the time, even though we kind of came from Hex and gave to Hex. So then the founder, I think, was then kind of getting in these kind of verbal spats with people like Richard Hart and all that
Now
sort
the
of thing.
founder, his name was HexInfo. It sounds like he was part of the Hex community though.
Oh, he was, as far as I know. I think he was one of the people that created the first Hex information website. I think that's why he's called HexInfo.
Interesting.
Yeah,
But people were clashing with this new product, I guess.
yeah, I think like Hex maxis were mad that it was drawing economic value away from Hex.
And where was
threatened by
Pepe during this? This
So
person?
Pepe was just like me. He was an investor, but he was kind of almost seen as a community leader. just
Okay.
because he was an influential person that liked the product. And like any of these cryptos, right? You get these influential people who kind of become faces just naturally. Yeah, he had no official affiliation with the founders or anything like that.
Okay. So he was just now coming along with the ride with the rest of you guys.
Yeah, and then I remember we got the opportunity to go into these kind of like PulseChain related founder chats and stuff like that. And we
Right.
I went in with Pepe and we would pitch the why we love Pulse Bitcoin. So yeah, and we started up the channel the YouTube channel in January, and we had a few of us on there. And he was one of the kind of faces that would come on and just promote. Well, I say promote. None of us were kind of promoting it in an official sense. We were just kind of sharing our excitement about this new version of Bitcoin.
Yeah. And it was cool. And so you guys were all miners of it, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
Cool. So everything sounds great so far.
Yeah. And also you had some other characters in there. You had this guy who was known as Gunther the Accountant.
Okay. So he was involved. When did he get involved?
He was a hex shark, I believe.
He was a hex shark. Okay.
You should understand. I was a second wave hexagon, you see. So I wasn't really kind of up with all the kind of people in hex. I kind of knew a few of them, that you see on YouTube and all that, and I was involved in another hex community, but I wasn't hanging out in the hex Telegram, so I didn't know who these people like Gunther were or
Yeah.
these other people. But he kind of was kind of championing the project. I think he had kind of more followers on Twitter than anyone else did in the room.
Okay.
And he was putting the work in, he was kind of out there every day, writing some really good tweets. Kind of, he was doing, out of his own pocket, giving away, doing competitions. So like he had a really amazing marketing strategy at one point where he was like offering, he said like, okay, whoever can make the best YouTube video about PulseChain. I think it ran for a month. Like, you'll get 10,000 PLSB, and I think at the time it was like a couple of bucks. So I think it was anywhere from like $20,000 to $10,000 you'd give away. So it was amazing because, again, like everyone was in the bear market blues, and we had this project that was kind of around $3 to $1, doing great, and then suddenly we had this kind of like whole wave of marketing material coming out, and you had like people in Nigeria kind of doing really cool dancing and music videos. You had,
I think I remember something like that.
Yeah, and it was just people making comedy ones. There was probably around 300 videos, and they were some informational ones, and so it was just kind of a really exciting time for kind of just it was really really kind of cool buzz about the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, do you want me to go on or?
No, I mean, so far it sounds like a great project, and I remember there was momentum developing.
Yeah.
I had picked up some ASIC, and I was mining because I was given a lot of Pulse Dogecoin. I remember that, and I remember it pumping, and I remember taking profits on it when it pumped. It was like $5 to $7. It was very cool, and I thought it was a great meme at the time. I remember. And it was the beginning of this kind of the idea of this decentralized blockchain, and these were the first projects. But I do remember the marketing, and there was like a lot of weird stuff I remember from Africa and India, and but I didn't remember the characters so much yet, or then what happened.
Yeah, so you mentioned you had that. Then there was another campaign, which I kind of disagreed with at the time. But hey, it wasn't my money, so it wasn't my money I was giving away. So, but there was another idea, and that was to onboard India.
Right.
And the reason India was selected, I think it's because I think India was the highest amount of percentage of users per population that actually use crypto on a daily basis. So Gunther's strategy there was to kind of go for the masses and try and onboard these developing countries into into Pulse Bitcoin, and a lot of them did come on. You know, we had quite a few. We had like multiple meetups in India,
Really?
groups out there. Yeah, we had meetups in Florida. We had we were with quite a large community in Germany, in all over the world, man. Yeah, we got a new community now in Spain. It's it kind of spread worldwide, really. You know,
Yeah,
little
and did
pockets.
you get a
But yeah,
chance to meet everybody like in real in person, like Pepe and Gunther and all these different
oh
people?
yeah, yeah. So Pepe organized a meetup. Like I think it was like 2 or 3 months into the launch of Pulse Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and so me and my girlfriend at the time we flew out to Florida. I'm trying to think what city it was, Tampa, and I met. There was probably around 30 of us there. Really good time. I think you can still see the videos on my YouTube channel. There was a kind of pool party. We met everyone, and really good, really lovely people. You know, a lot of them were kind of hexicans who had kind of done really well with hex and had a lot of money at the time because of that.
Right.
Not so much anymore, right? But so they were kind of like really optimistic. We had Tim Benjamin pop down with his kind of hex and PulseChain kind of car, which is all Tesla. And then you
Tim
had
Benjamin.
yeah,
I don't know who that is. Is it?
he's a well-known hex onboarder. He was like one of the first people that was kind of doing tours around the US talking about hex, and
Okay.
like and then you had like 8-bit hex used to go around Germany and US talking about doing the tour. Like he was involved a little bit. And you had so many guys, man, so many guys. I can't remember them. Yeah, you had even DJ Paulie turned up with his PulseChain van, and then you had the golf. Yeah, it was a really good meetup, man. Really good meetup, and that was kind of at the height of where everything was kind of going well in terms of the team. You know, when I say the team, I mean the community.
Right.
Then you had obviously when PulseChain launched, kind of everything changed a bit. You know.
Yeah. What happened then? Because that should have been actually, I think the time when PLSB should have grown the most around then.
Yeah. So I think it's like anything, right? With a project, is like you get like as a developer, you can develop a project, right, or a product, whatever you want to call it, and you can kind of have intentions of how to put it. So the reason PLSB is so popular is because the way the coding is done, it's just so professional. It's immaculate. You know, many coders have looked at it. It's immaculate code. It's totally safe. You know, no problems with it. It was fairly distributed. But I think, you design something, but you don't really know how the community is going to evolve or interpret it. You don't know how someone's going to interpret your product or how that's going to evolve,
No, you don't.
So I think originally he had developed Pulse Bitcoin to be the Bitcoin of PulseChain, right? But, it was one of those, unlike a lot of the PulseChain projects we know now, there's only a handful that were actually launched like 6 months before PulseChain, right? They're still kind of here, alive and kicking today.
Yeah.
So I think when PulseChain launched, there was again, this is kind of where you had a bit of confusion because obviously everything on the Ethereum network got copied right over to, and so a lot of people were like, okay, you can't sustain two Pulse Bitcoins, you can only sustain one.
Okay.
Just like Richard Hart is doing with Hex right now, he's realized, okay, I can't sustain two. Let me try and kill the other one off and get everyone on this one.
And who was having that discussion or kind of front running that?
Well, that's the problem, really. There wasn't really a discussion. What happened was this is Hex Info, the founder. He kind of declared, and this is kind of where this is kind of where he kind of started to step back at this point, because he just suddenly out the blue declared, okay, it's done now on Ethereum. We're going to PulseChain without and by this point, he hadn't really spoken to anyone in the community. He hadn't really gauged the community's thoughts if they wanted to keep that going. She had a lot of liquidity providers. Like we had around on average $70,000 of volume a day. sometimes up to $200,000.
So he was just saying, hey, let's let go of the Ethereum side. Let's focus on the Pulse side of PLSB.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a conversation that happened or anything like that. It was just like he started tweeting. Do you know what I mean? Everyone woke up one day and PulseChain is launched, and which is fine.
Yeah,
everything was stable, and then suddenly, we're killing that side. Even though he doesn't have the power to kill it, but he kind of created enough FUD. So then all the liquidity providers removed their liquidity and suddenly took it over to PulseChain.
Right.
So we had the first kind of retrace, dump 96% retrace on the Ethereum side, which at the time was like shock, horror, disaster. But now we realize like pretty much every DeFi project I know has had a 96% sell off at some point.
Which was here?
Oh, let me have a look. Sorry. Let's have a look on the screen.
In May of 2023. That was close to...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because Pulse was coming out like in June, or did it come out in May? Did it?
I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah. So that's what you see there. So basically the liquidity was pulled. It wasn't really people dumping, it's just the liquidity was pulled. So when you pull the liquidity, obviously, any sell is going to drive the price down.
He himself pulled his liquidity, or...
I don't know if he was even providing liquidity, but it was enough. I don't know who was providing liquidity at the time. There's probably a few people who were providing, but let's say there was
he was tweeting, and then some people, I guess, slowly just started pulling liquidity.
Well, if you're providing liquidity at $1 and suddenly the founder says, "Oh, this one's done," you're probably going to pull your liquidity so you don't suddenly end up with no USDC and just a bunch of PLSB worth 90% less. So it's natural for liquidity providers to panic at that point. But so, I think we had one or two liquidity providers that then planted a base down there after the fact. But
some people came back in and started providing liquidity once it found a bottom. Yeah.
Yeah. But that was a few weeks later. So there was a few weeks where it was almost kind of just dead on Ethereum. And there was a lot of people who were upset about that decision, because you got to understand there was millions and millions of dollars that was invested into ASIC tokens, into this project. Millions. Like I know people that had put in hundreds of thousands personally. Multiple people, hundreds of thousands, yeah. And suddenly, to have something they paid for just suddenly be pulled. I don't think you'll find ASIC
on the Ethereum side.
I don't think you'll find ASIC.
We won't find it
because at the moment it's not being traded because no one's selling it, so you won't see it on
no one's
traded.
Okay.
So
then people stopped mining, I guess.
No, so what happened? No, so people were still mining.
Yeah.
But what happened was, so then I think Gunther at the time, who was kind of the most influential person in the community, said, "Okay."
Gunther. Okay.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I think some people call him Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Kind of himself, okay. Wolverine.
I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. So he kind of said, "Okay, we're going full gun." He followed the lead of HexInfo, despite a lot of people being upset, and said, "Okay, we're going full gun into a PulseChain. Let's concentrate all our power on PulseChain." And now, obviously, a lot of people, everyone knows that PulseChain only has V2 liquidity, right? So it's a lot harder to. You've got less options as a liquidity provider.
Right.
So he, being a big hexagon, alongside a couple other people who had money, quite a lot of money, I guess, they were kind of really kind of started to pump Pulse Bitcoin on the PulseChain side. And I remember the first month of PulseChain, we were the top traded token that wasn't a Richard Hart token on PulseChain. So the people that were kind of upset about the Ethereum side being abandoned were kind of it was almost like, don't worry about it. Look, we're at $2 over here, so you've got your value back. Do you know what I mean? So the same way as the hexagons now, or who believe they've been kind of shafted or left behind on the ETH side, the argument is, don't worry, you've got double the value now over on this side. So it's kind of that argument.
So just to recap, so shortly after the bottom was found on the Ethereum side, this gentleman named Wolverine, or Gunther at the time, who you knew before from the meetups, correct? You'd met him in person before. Yeah. So he was very active with Pepe and with you and
also,
the other people.
as admins, community admins, we would have weekly kind of like boardroom style meetings to try and keep
Okay, so
everything, like on board.
okay,
Keep
so
going,
this was pretty open that he said, okay, that's fine if Hex Info wants to do that. We're gonna go. He wanted to go heavy on the Pulse Bitcoin on the Pulse side, and so he started
Yes.
wanting to pump that one.
Yes, and you know what he did? He and a few others, as I say, they must have sacrificed a lot of money when Hex was doing real well into Pulse, and they pumped that thing like crazy up to $2.
Okay, so they put their own money and just pumped it up. Do you? I don't know why this doesn't
Yeah,
show me
like if you
that.
look
Do
at
you know
that
what?
wick there, what is that? What is that top wick there at the start? You see that top wick
It's
on the chart
22
there?
cents.
Oh, it's not showing. It's probably not. It hasn't got the historical data there.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it. Maybe it's somewhere
Maybe check
else.
V1. Might have been V1.
V1, you're right. Yeah, it would have been here. Yeah.
Most probably.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. There it
Yeah, look at that
is.
pump. Look at that pump. You see?
Okay, so this is when you can see the timeline. It was May, so it was just a couple
Launched.
weeks after that.
That's when we launched, PulseChain, yeah. Because at the time we were kind of doing a little bit of wargaming on the testnet, and we managed to pump it up to like, $40-$50 on the testnet. So we were kind of like thinking, okay, we're going to grab everyone's attention with this.
I mean, that's quite a pump still.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it got up to over $2. Yeah.
I mean,
But
that's
the problem
almost
is,
a
right,
20x.
and this is the problem, right?
But it didn't hold very long. Yeah.
Exactly, and this is the problem, right?
Okay.
So at this point, we're kind of having our weekly meetings there. And I don't know how many weeks we had. Well, it wasn't very long, but we kind of had this situation where I kind of felt, as someone who's like, we had these community admin kind of meetings once a week, and we were kind of leaning on the experience of kind of like someone like Pepe, who spent many years in as a kind of board director for big Fortune 500 companies, and we had Gunther, who's a very intelligent mathematician, made a lot of money. So we were kind of, and then we had some other, successful businessmen. We had Mr. Jiggs, who was kind of
Mr. Jiggs.
yeah, he's like in his 80s, but a very successful businessman.
Okay.
So we had a few other board members in our kind of community chat who were very experienced in business.
Wow.
My kind of
team.
role was I was kind of obviously doing a bit. I was volunteering myself to having the YouTube channel and kind of trying to help with the media side of things. Trying to help, because a lot of this is trying to onboard people, as you know, into crypto, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, we're having our weekly meetings, and then I think they started to run out of money. Right, they couldn't sustain this pump, and I think part of their issue was they weren't really experienced with providing liquidity. They weren't exactly liquidity providing experts. So they pumped it, but then they couldn't sustain the price. Do you know what I mean? They kind of ran out, and then I remember suddenly it's like, oh, we ran out of money. We run out of money. We can't sustain this. We can't sustain this. All panic stations, So I was like, okay. Let me go and talk to some people. I'll get some money over here, some liquidity over here. And I won't mention the person's name, but next day I found one of the biggest guys on PulseChain. He was one of the biggest validators on PulseChain, and he said, "Yeah, sure, I can help you guys provide liquidity. I'm a day one miner. I like the project, sure." And then this is where things went a bit south from my perspective, because I kind of came into the guys and said, "Look, don't worry, I've solved our problems. We got some Pulse, from a huge whale. He's going to support us. Everything's going to be fine." And then suddenly I didn't hear from them. Suddenly, it's instead of the relief from them, expecting them to go, "Oh, okay, that's cool. Right, we can sustain it. Maybe have a bit of a pullback and sustain and keep going."
Yeah.
There was nothing, and I was like, "This is strange." And then a few days later, right, and this is kind of where things started to go a bit. This is where we had kind of the first kind of big drama unfold. A few days later, there was a new kind of room popped up called Zen Bitcoin or something like that. Or I think before that, I think Gunther, Junkman, and Pepe. I can't remember what time. I can't remember what stage Pepe came in, but I think it was mainly Gunther and Junkman. They were suddenly saying, "Listen, Pulse Bitcoin is unsustainable. We need to do what Richard Hart does, and we need to launch a new contract, a new version of Bitcoin. We're going to call it Zen Bitcoin because Zen's really popular.
Okay.
And basically 87% of it is going to be owned by, I can't remember the exact numbers. It's going to be owned by us or whoever their little team was. And then don't worry, we're going to look after everyone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that sounds legit. I do remember a Zen Bitcoin. I remember this phase because I remember being new to the Twitter of kind of the Hex world, and I'd sacked for PulseX, and there was this guy, Gunther Wolverine. I remember him changing his name, and he was starting these new projects, and I think he had maybe just changed his name then or something like that. And his tweets were crazy because I remember before then maybe he was like posting stuff from India or something. I just remember he got my attention, and I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Now, just to recap really quick for everyone listening. So when the pump went up, it had to be sustained. So you knew someone who could provide liquidity, because they're a validator.
Well, we had a few people that could.
You had a few people. Okay.
I could have gone and found more people, but it was almost, yeah.
Now, did they all know the liquidity providers as well? Pepe and Wolverine?
Yeah, so that's me. So I spoke to a couple of people. They knew these guys. They said, yeah, we like them. Yeah, we can do business with you guys.
Okay. So the liquidity comes in. And then that's when...
Well, no. That's the thing. The liquidity didn't come in at that point. This is where it all went. That's what I'm saying. So instead of the relief that, so it was... So now in hindsight, it almost looks like they were making an excuse, and they didn't really want... It's almost like they didn't really want me to go out or the team to go out and find liquidity providers because, the next day I had great news. We found some guys that can come in and help out who love the project, don't see it die.
Gotcha.
And then, within a few days, suddenly it's like I'm hearing all this kind of, we got some exciting news, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? Because this community, like any community, had already suffered from, you call them vampire attacks. Like even Hex was a vampire attack by Jack Levin, and you get it in every community. People that try and launch their own stuff and split the economic power, right, of the community.
Yeah.
And so we already kind of had all that sort of drama before, and kind of all as a team kind of managed to stamp it out. And then suddenly it seemed like the people around me were doing the same thing. So I kind of called it out straight away, and then they literally launched it within like 24 hours of them talking about this. It was launched in the middle of the night. The community wasn't even made aware of it. They just basically held a voice chat with around 20 people in there.
This new Zen Bitcoin.
Zen Bitcoin, it was called. And it was launched almost overnight in the middle of the night. So my argument was this is not a fair distribution. You haven't allowed everyone, and they were basically getting people to dump their Pulse Bitcoin to buy this new Zen Bitcoin. And they were saying, don't worry, we're just going to make some money by doing this, and then we're going to bring all the money back to Pulse Bitcoin. Yeah, sure.
This is the one.
All the other one. Yeah, that's
June 23. So this literally happened a month. This happened just so fast, like immediately, like you're saying, like right when this dumped, they had this ready to go.
Looks like it.
It looks like it.
That's what I'm saying. Came out of the blue, and what I was almost kind of saying at the time, but bear in mind this is all happening very fast. I was like, listen, you have to do a fair launch. You have to give everyone in the community. Number one, the community needs to discuss it. You need to give people ample time to kind of see if they agree with you, right?
Yeah.
And if people do agree with you, you need enough time. If you've got 7,000 holders, right? Mm-hmm. You can't say, we told people because you told 25 people, 30 people in a voice chat and then just launch it, right? Also, the distribution, having no mining, having 21 million supply, but 87% they're owned by mysterious 4 people that you haven't said who they are. It's just for me that just screams scam. And also, it's like this is not what we got into Pulse Bitcoin for, right?
Right.
This is not a decentralized crypto.
So we understand. So this was kind of spearheaded by Gunther Wolverine, same person, and Pepe.
No, but I believe at the time it was I believe, and obviously I may be incorrect, but I was under the understanding that Junkman seemed to be the developer, even though I don't think he admitted it publicly. And then you had Wolverine, who seemed to be his partner, and
Okay, got you.
and then I think then it seemed like people who are also influential in the community were basically told to get on board and then maybe offered tokens. That's what it seemed like, because there was 4 accounts that seemed to have almost 87% of the supply. Which, by the way, some of those accounts started selling, wouldn't you know? Very soon after, a lot of money came in, So, that, and another thing I noticed, what Zen Bitcoin was doing is they were sending out tweets. I remember Gunther sending out tweets saying, after it pumped, that crazy pump, saying, get in now, I'm about to buy more. And then the whole thing dumps. And honestly, there was people for weeks after this. So I refused to be part of this. I made it very vocal. I tried my hardest over the coming weeks after that to stop as many of the community from dumping, from panicking, and just running over there. Because you had a lot of people that were just woke up the next day. The chart had been wrecked. So they'd already been wrecked on Ethereum. Now they've been told it's okay, we're on PulseChain. Then they've been wrecked on PulseChain, with Pulse Bitcoin. And it was almost what they're doing is they were kind of causing panic so people wouldn't have time to think something through in a logical, with investments, you should have time to process things and make a logical decision.
Right.
You should you should inform the people you're trying to bring with you. But instead, this was very much like, how people FOMO into a chart when they see green candles? This was very much like FOMO out of your bag when you're seeing red candles. And don't worry, there's safe haven over here. So for me, it was very scammy. Luckily, a lot of the community managed to not fall for that trick, but a lot of people did lose a lot of money with that project over there.
I'm sure from these charts. Yeah.
So at this point, I saw a kind of power vacuum, no leadership over in Pulse Bitcoin. So I kind of tried to step up to the plate and said, no, guys, right, we're going to stay here. Let's remember why we invested in Pulse Bitcoin. It wasn't you didn't invest in Pulse Bitcoin because of Gunther. You didn't invest in it because of Pepe. You didn't invest in it because of me. You didn't invest it into any of these characters. You invested in it because you liked the protocol, and most of us believed in having a go at a decentralized Bitcoin, right? So I learned a lot at that point. I learned a lot about the influence. As much as people like to pretend they're in DeFi for the right reasons, a lot of people just follow influencers.
Yeah.
And that's when I started to notice, and blindly following influencers will honestly just get you wrecked. I've seen it happen over and over again. Like, there's so many people in the PulseChain community I just don't follow. I block them. Right. I'm not going to say any names, but the kind of people where it's like launching a different token every week, and it's just, for me, it's not the way I like to do crypto. I like to kind of invest in. I mean, sure, I guess when I invested into Hex and PulseChain, I essentially was investing into Richard Hart. There's people that believes that that Hex is like proper DeFi. No, it's not. I believe Pulse Bitcoin is now, but I don't believe Hex is true DeFi. I mean, really, my interpretation of Hex and PulseChain is you're basically loaning Richard Hart money. He's going out there making more money and bringing it back. And I believe he is a revolutionary character in crypto. Like, he taught me and a lot of people a lot of things, and I believe he's a very wise man. But for me, I'm under no illusions. Like, that guy owns, a huge percentage of PulseX, Pulse, or whoever owns those wallets. We assume it's someone like him. But right. be under no illusions. It's not a store of value for you, as we've seen from the Hex going down to nothing. It's only a store of value for the person that owns the large share of it. It's a store of value for Richard Hart, but it's not a store of value for you. So I think what we're trying to do now, so it was a blessing in disguise. A lot of people lost a lot of money with Pulse Bitcoin early on with these sell-offs, right?
Yeah. We've jumped to three tokens now.
We had so essentially 3 tokens. You had Pulse Doge, migrated to Pulse Bitcoin on Ethereum. And by the way, Pulse Bitcoin on Ethereum was still going. It's just all the attention was suddenly driven over to Pulse Bitcoin on PulseChain, the forked
Then it went
version.
to Pulse, right?
Yeah, so then that one kind of got wrecked. And then at that time, you had people making a choice. Do I follow the leadership of these guys? And I think they used to have the phrase "swim with the whales." Don't worry, and at that point, it actually started to get insulting. They would actually, whereas before we had this lovely kind of conversation that would go on in the voice chats of people sharing ideas, people talking about liquidity, people talking about this strategy, that strategy, and there was educated, like, long format discussions going on. And then the short time I did kind of listen into the conversations going on in their room at that point, it was very much sit down class, you're all stupid, we are smart, don't question the whales. It was very demeaning, and I think there was a lot of psychological kind of warfare going on almost.
Who was doing that?
Well, I personally believe, under the leadership of Wolverine, I personally kind of think he has traits of a psychopath.
Okay.
A narcissistic psychopath, and I think he was. I didn't like the way they were talking to people in there, not just him, but the other people around him. I think it was almost like sit down and shut up. You're stupid. I'm rich. I know what I'm doing. If you don't follow me, and it was very horrible. Not why I got into Pulse Bitcoin for. So I stayed the hell away from that. A lot of other people did, and then after that point, it was just about kind of going back to basics with the community and saying, listen, I'm still here with Pulse Bitcoin. Are you? Okay, you're still here. Okay, do you know what? Let's stick with this. Let's not get fudded out of our bag. I mean, Bitcoin. Do you think Richard Hart got fudded out of Bitcoin when he bought it at whatever he bought it, $32 or something? It went down to $2. Did he get fudded out of his bag? No, he stuck with it. Did the Hexicans get fudded out when they went from 50 cents down to less than a penny? Or some of them. But if you have conviction in something, you don't just give it up because a few people with money give it up. That's my interpretation. So at that point, we're starting to kind of build the community back, move on.
Okay.
And looking over there's just token after token after token after rug pull being released over there. So I like to think that I was proven correct by what the hell they're doing over there.
Well, on Pulse Bitcoin, I mean, started out great, and still looking at it, it still seems really great, and it's really great to see you guys came together and kept the community going, even after all these shenanigans. But was what they were doing, I don't know whether it's ethical or not in crypto. Was it what's the word?
Illegal?
Was it malicious, or was it? Did it have intent to damage the community and what was being built, or do you think they were just trying to make quick money?
I can't speak to their intention.
Like, what do you think was going on? Like,
I can't speak. I believe there was a genuine concern on their part, that a frustration. I think I remember hearing at the time a lot of things like, we're just, everyone else is just mining it and selling it. They're just dumping on us. The community, we can't sustain this. That was kind of the argument. We can't get people to hold. They're just dumping on us every month. So instead of kind of thinking about that and kind of
it was a bear market, in all fairness. So,
and also the rewards are super high. You're getting maximum rewards in halving zero. 7.5%. It's like, of course people are going to dump. You give them free money, they're going to dump. But it's like, I think, but that's why it's an interesting kind of process to go through. Like, even now, we've just gone into our second halving. So we had halving zero, just had halving one. People still sell. Some people just do that. But the beautiful thing about the mathematics is, with these halvings, is eventually that selling becomes less and less and less. But yes, there's plenty of things around that. I mean, that's not a bad thing. If people are selling, people want to buy. It's like, I think gone are the days now of trying to, like, I remember, like, obviously we did some nice things there when we kind of took over the project in January. There, we've had a lovely steady uptrend over the weeks there. We've had two beautiful pumps. One up to 18, 19 cents. We had another one up to recently up to 12, 13 cents. So there was a chance at one point there to make 20x. There's plenty of chance to make money on a chart like that, and you don't have to manipulate it. So that's the forked version on. We should probably talk about that actually. It's a bit confusing. So I personally decided to go in and support the original.
Okay, this one.
Ethereum. Yeah, the original Ethereum Pulse Bitcoin before it got forked over to PulseChain. I decided at that point to go and put my efforts on that one because, as I said before, obviously the Ethereum one was the first one to get abused. It was the first neglected child. So you kind of had all those guys remove all of their liquidity. They were already selling all their ASIC. They were exiting their positions for a long time before that. So it had a big shakeout. And then they took all their money to the PulseChain side to pump that side. So for me, I said, where, all these people that have kind of left the project or don't really care about Pulse Bitcoin anymore, there seems to be a lot less of them in the original version. So, and also I could go on Etherscan, could see what was going on there. At the time, PulseScan was terrible. It still is quite bad, as I'm sure you know. You can't get the data you can from, it's still kind of being developed as far as I understand.
It needs work, yeah. It needs some more iterations.
So you didn't have a clear picture of what was going on that side. So what we decided to do is, the people kind of more involved now. I mean, some people disagree with us; they prefer the other side. But what we decided to do now is kind of go back to basics with that one as a store of value. And what we've done is we've actually ported it over to, we've wrapped it up and bridged it over to the PulseChain.
Oh, okay.
For people that prefer the PulseChain,
Well, that's very cool.
Yeah.
I see there's locked liquidity here.
Yes, so that's really cool, right?
That is really cool. And
yeah,
you guys were forming a bullish uptrend here. Kind of got a loose W that was forming until we've, now everything's breaking down. But we had, we poo-pooed now. But it was coming together and making its way up. Yeah.
So basically, what happened there is, it kind of depends on how the whales are doing. The whales at the time were making a lot of money, so we were kind of pumping it, and then we had quite a few new people come in that pump. I think we were pumping it up to like 5-6 cents, and then we had quite a handful of new people come in who also kind of want to build up their stack there.
Uh-huh.
So it kind of got a bit out of control, went up to 12-13 cents, and we actually got our liquidity up to over 100K. And what we decided to do at that point was like, okay, what we should do here is we should, for everyone that kind of loves this project, it would be really nice if we kind of lock some liquidity to kind of show how much we kind of value the project, right, and how much we see it as a store of value for the future, like put our money where our mouth is. So if you click on that, it has the lock sign next to the, where it says liquidity, and it has the lock on it there.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I said, if you click on that, you see all that, right? So that is 10 different participants who have all locked liquidity for up to 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So what's really cool is we're now going back to basics here, and we are. I think that shows you one of the holders there that's locked liquidity for 4 years. So what's really cool now is we're not relying on any one person. We're not relying on any whale to come save us. We're not relying on anything like that. A founder. We want Pulse Bitcoin to be a truly decentralized Bitcoin where, just like there, one day you're going to see 100 of those wallets, all people verifying the liquidity themselves, So locking USDC, locking Pulse Bitcoin together, so it can never be rugged. You've got 100 people that can never be rugged. That's the idea. And also, that idea came from because we've also got like 34% of the supply locked up for about 7.5 years on average.
Okay.
So if you go to the holders on Etherscan, you'll see, I think the largest holder right now is the lock account. The one after that, so everyone that's locked, the 34% of the supply, it won't show there, it will show on Etherscan. But then after that, you've got the liquidity pools, which are the second largest holder. After that, I think you've got the burn address where almost 1 million tokens have been permanently burned. That's where we got the founder. I know the founder voluntarily actually decided to, Hex Info, he decided to do the right thing to help the project by burning all of his holdings in ASIC Bitcoin. Yeah. So now
cool.
we truly can say we have a decentralized version of Bitcoin with the founder that basically did what Satoshi did and stopped influencing the project. Now you're kind of on your own, and it's interesting to see what this thing does. Like, we're having a sell-off right now.
This could reverse in a heartbeat and head.
Oh, but to be honest with you, man, we don't want it to. We want it to go down to 1 cent. Like some of my friends here, the Guardians, we want to see 1 cent right now. We want to, because think about it, right? If it goes down to 1 cent.
I think it's very possible. Be careful what you wish for, but
but that's what we want, right? Because think about it. If it goes down to 1 cent, we can buy 1 million tokens for $10,000. Think about that. So yeah, we all want to get. In my group, there's about 10 of us that all want to get to 1 million tokens, because we want this to, like I said earlier, if you want something to be your store of value, like Hex is a store of value to people that have a lot of it.
Right.
It's store of value to Richard Hart.
So the community that's left is going to accumulate. So as we have head to Dumpy Town for all of crypto. By the way, everyone watching in the future, it's April 30th, 2024 right now. And things are, well, you can see on the charts.
Yeah. I mean, go to the Pulse, look at the PulseChain right now. Pretty much, I was looking today for opportunities, see if there's any little trades I could make, and every chart almost looks the same. It's almost like gone back to where they were.
Everything's pulling back. It was to be expected, I suppose.
I see PLS had a little bit of a pullback today. Is that right? Yeah,
it's broken support, and
yes.
it's been support since August 23rd. So it's a pretty serious move that's happening right now. I could cheat it a little bit and say maybe it's if I pull in these candles or wicks.
Yeah.
But this is this is a good place. This is very strong support right here, and it's holding. It's still holding. It's you could see even before some wicks have poked their head out a couple times here and here back in December. So I'm waiting for a bounce. This is a pretty strong candle. We should get a pretty epic bounce here, and we'll see what it does. But we're still a baby ecosystem, and
same as me, man. I'm not bothered about the PLSB chart right now. For me, it's like cheaper you go, the better. Same with PLS right now. I don't care how cheap that goes. The cheaper it goes, the better. So I'm in no rush with any of this stuff. It's like I like PLS as a long-term project. I like PLSB as a long-term project. Yeah. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they're going to be successful products.
They're going to be very successful. Yeah.
I think if you like a project, whatever it is, right? It can be your favorite meme token, whether it's teddy bear or whatever kind of you're into. I think if you kind of are around people that have the same values and like the same thing as you do in that cryptocurrency, like the cryptocurrency is only solid as its foundation of its community. Do you know what I mean? And if you have like-minded people around you that believe in that token and want to store their value into that token, then you really have nothing to worry about by temporary pullbacks. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And when this moves, I have no doubt every project, including Pulse Bitcoin, are going to move with it in a massive way, because this rising tide is going to lift everything. And I've got the worst scenario. Not the worst, but I mean, who knows? We could go as low as what I've drawn here, but who knows what's going to happen. I think we're going to hold.
Well, I'd just like to say one thing about that point. Like, yes, of course, we have gone and tied. We did, as I said, bridge quite a few tokens over from Ethereum onto PulseChain. I think we did 9mm, and then we also did some on native PulseX.
That's very cool.
That's only a small percentage of our actual tokens in the liquidity pool paired with Pulse. So even if Pulse does pump massively, I think it will have an effect, of course.
Yeah.
But one thing we kind of want to do is we had many discussions about this. Do we kind of port over loads of Pulse Bitcoin and pair it with Pulse? Do we before that, do we pair it with ETH? Because we could have paired it with ETH when ETH was going up, but we decided as a community not to do that. We decided to stay paired with USDC because, like you said earlier, like I think someone said, what goes up, what comes down, and it's like, yeah, sure, that's great when you're in a bull run, but then what happens when you're in a bear market? And
Right.
And for us, like trying to be a decentralized Bitcoin, what's the point if we just followed the same 4-year cycle as the rest of the market?
Right.
Like one of the fun things I mentioned earlier about Pulse Dogecoin was the fact that we were going up 9x, multiple times during a bear market when the whole market was getting wrecked. And the only reason we were able to do that and enjoy that isolation and decorrelation from the bear market was because we were tied to USDC. So I think one of the things I'm looking forward to with Pulse Bitcoin on the Ethereum side is being tied to USDC because, as well as these halvings coming along, reducing the sell pressure, when you see these huge pullbacks, 97% pullbacks in crypto, I don't think you're going to see. I think Pulse Bitcoin is going to hold its value a lot better in a bear market. I think it's going to have its own internal cycles where it kind of halves every 10 months to 12 months. It's going to have its own kind of mini bull and bear markets. That's what I'm kind of looking forward to.
It sounds like the people there are the diehard holders now at this point. Who
Yes,
and that's key. These are, you've got a core group of people
100%.
right now, and there's obviously
Yeah,
incredible amount of potential here.
We're not tribalistic.
Yeah,
We like people to go out and make money. It's like, we like people to go out and invest in projects they like, and it's like, we're all excited we're all hexagons, we're all pulsicans, well, many of us are in the project. And of course, like, when Richard comes back with his ETH that he's made outside of PulseChain, what's he going to do? He's going to bring the money back to the PulseChain, and he's going to pump the PulseChain. And what are we going to do? We're going to enjoy that pump like everyone else. And then when the bear market comes along, we're going to pull those profits out and put a lot of them into Pulse Bitcoin to store our value, So
to bring it back around, where are the characters who from before that you talked about? Pepe, Gunther, Wolverine, Junkman. Where are these people now? They still
I don't know where
involved?
Jumpman is. I don't speak to him. No, he's nothing. As far as I know, nothing to do. I'm with the community. I haven't seen him in almost a year, I'd say. And then Wolverine. Last I heard from him, I saw him pop up on Twitter again. Launch another token that seemed to disappear overnight again, and then he deleted his Twitter. It seems
He deleted his Twitter.
Well, I don't know. Someone showed me he launched another token called Gunther or something. Oh, by the way, that is by the way, that's not that Twitter space there. That is not the official Twitter. That's just a random person. That's
Okay, let me go back to there. Here's Gun. We'll go here. So this is not.
No, that's just a random person that seemed to have. Yeah. So don't be fooled by that. There is no official Pulse Bitcoin.
No official. It's decentralized. There's nobody doing it.
Yeah.
So,
this is decentralized.
Lord.
No official. Yeah. So there you are. He came back apparently as a hex maxi, and yeah, he seems to not be able to help himself and launch. And by the way, I'm assuming just because we were assuming that Twitter account is his, it could be an imposter, but that account created that Gunther token. It looks like it's gone to shit. So yeah.
Okay.
I don't think anyone participated in it though.
I remember seeing some tweets, and I recognized him, though I don't follow him. It just popped up as a repost from somebody, and yeah. So
yeah, but he launched a lot of tokens. He had I think he had another token called X-Men, and he had another one called Jam, and then he had another one
X-Men,
I believe it was called, or something like that.
So his alter ego is a X-Men, Wolverine.
Maybe not. Is that it? No, it would have been on. Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you're not in communication anymore with him any longer.
Well, no. Last time I had any sort of communication with him, he said, "I'll happily challenge any of my haters to a boxing match." So I said, "Yeah, I'll take that boxing match. I'll fly out to New York."
I saw that
And
tweet.
he didn't. Suddenly, he deleted that tweet. So that's the last I heard from him.
Okay, okay. You want to box him? Why do you want to box him?
I don't. It's just he offered. I've got time.
Yeah. Is there
I
is
just,
there
you know,
is
I
there
just, I
is
just
there
haven't
beef?
got, I just
Is
haven't
there
got time
bad
for
blood there
people.
still? Some beef there.
Sorry.
There's still some bad
Listen,
blood
man.
there.
Listen, man. It would be really good for the drama, wouldn't it? Who
It's
wouldn't like
always
to
good
see that?
marketing. Yeah, doing a fight. Yeah. Oh yeah,
No,
it would
I
promote the
wish him the best of
project.
luck. Honestly, in hindsight, he did the best thing possible for the project. Honestly, and that's what's been the kind of so amazing about this whole journey is I had a great time with him and all the guys at the time. At the time, it was devastating for a lot of us, who were kind of putting our life and soul into this. To suddenly, for a lot of those guys to suddenly pull the rug out from under our feet, and say we're doing this now. So there was a lot of emotions at the time, a lot of money lost.
Did
Now, in
they
retrospect, that's it.
were they responsible for like pumping and dumping? Is that kind of what they did?
Um, I wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily accuse them of that with Pulse Bitcoin because I don't necessarily think they made any money by
No.
pumping Pulse Bitcoin on that side. They
Oh,
probably lost a lot of money, in all fairness to them. But
that's
from
messed
what
up.
and by the way, this I don't want to get in trouble for libel here, but from what I see as an outsider on the projects they did afterwards, it didn't look very good to me. It looked like a lot of found accounts that were allocated were selling.
Yeah. No,
So
no.
that's why I didn't touch that stuff with the barge pole. And I think a lot of people are wised up to this sort of behaviour now.
Barge pole.
They're a lot more cautious about what they invest in, who they listen to. As I say, like, I'm not interested in this kind of popularity contest of just investing into something because someone's popular or some. I'd much rather invest in serious, financial products. That's kind of I'm here to. I guess the current financial system doesn't offer the same opportunity it used to, and I see the blockchain as a new way to kind of get rid of some of the bad stuff about the old system. But the problem is
Right.
because it's an unregulated market, that's a blessing in some ways, but it's also the Wild West. So it allows people to take advantage of people that are less savvy than they
Yeah.
are, and
No doubt. No doubt.
that's also one of the reasons why we struggle to onboard the average person, So I would just like to say to anyone in the Hex and PulseChain community, like, it's up to us to kind of stop the average person thinking of crypto as a scam, because if we all just run around chasing meme coins all day, the name of the game of meme coins is some people make money and most people lose their money, and that's how people. So the new people are quite often they're going to lose their money, and then they get a bad opinion of crypto. They don't come back to it for 5 years, 10 years, or maybe never.
Yeah.
So I'd encourage people to, like, sure, go make money with stuff, but try and like have a couple of products you really believe in and like can actually give a good name to crypto.
Well, I think no doubt you guys have proved to show that you're a diehard community, and I think that's what people are noticing. I think the next run in crypto isn't going to be memes. I think the main memes will do well, but I think it will be really strong community-driven projects. I think we're going to kind of come full circle and come back to this, and I think that'll also be at the time you guys will be tied with the movement in Pulse as well, because once again we are a very heavily community driven group, or cults within cults, And I think crypto is going to come full circle back to its roots. Who else would you like to see?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you, like I assume PulseChain is your main kind of just by going by your channel and speaking to you briefly, the PulseChain is your main focus. Is that correct?
Yeah. Absolutely. In crypto? Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you kind of see for PulseChain? Do you see it just kind of pumping toward the end of this traditional cycle and then kind of petering off like the rest of the market? What's your opinion about that?
I think that there is. I think the case has to resolve before we really see. At least I think there'll be some dramatic change in the case, possibly.
The SEC case,
Yeah, the SEC case. I think a lot of people are going to wait to see at least a major move in that, and we could see massive pumps tied to that. But I felt it was going to take longer than people were saying. I wasn't expecting it to run. I also think this cycle could be full of more surprises. We had the all-time high before the halving this time. Maybe instead of having a left translated cycle, a lot of people are saying maybe we have a very long cycle, but there's like an interim in the middle that splits it up and makes people think that it was over, but then maybe we run again and it's like a delayed cycle. The second half is delayed. It's really hard to say because we're intertwined with a lot of narratives happening in the world right now. Whether that's the economy, World War III, what is it? The new ice age, aliens, and pole shift. I don't know. Oh, a zombie 3.0, 2.0. We got some stuff to go through.
Gone are the days where people thought, oh, if the economy goes to shit and the world ends, Bitcoin will be just fine because it's too tied to the wider economy now. I think people are realizing.
Yeah, at least the narratives and emotion of people. People are very emotionalized right now. What I'm hearing from people in the U.S. I left a few years ago, so I'm in with you in Europe now. But everyone's saying the world doesn't feel real, and I think they've really, between the media and the circus that's happening in the U.S., people are really turned around. And we need people to come back to crypto and growing their lives and what have you, and that's not where most people are right now. So I don't know when this cycle is going to turn or when they'll do it. But one thing I can say with absolute certainty is sometimes we don't understand what the catalysts are that are going to drive PulseChain yet. Like we think it's decentralization or memes or it can pump, but it may be none of those things. There may be events that just haven't even happened yet. Some of these events, I wouldn't be surprised if people like Richard Hart or some of the developers high up have already thought about years ago, and they're waiting for those, like setting a trap. Like they know certain events are going to happen, they just haven't happened yet, but it's literally people will just have no choice but to gravitate toward PulseChain. And I think that's going to be proven true at some point. And I don't know exactly what those catalysts are going to be. We see BlackRock already has control over Bitcoin. Who knows what happens next to the crypto market? But we may be the best game in town at some point, and that may be hard for people to believe. A lot of people. But I guess what I'm saying is, don't think too small about PulseChain. You may be shocked at what it could do and what it's going to do, and the amount of capital that could pour into it in this space very quickly when whatever said catalysts actually happen in the real world, whether those happen this summer or in the fall or a year from now. There's going to be things that are going to happen that are going to make us the best game in town.
Yeah, honestly, I like how bullish you are there. I mean, I think, also you got the factor that Richard Hart, many times he said, he's in it for the glory, right? I mean, the guy's already a billionaire, we assume. So, most people at that point would put their feet up and enjoy life, wouldn't they? I think he is in it for the glory, and I don't think he's gonna lay down without putting up a fight and having a big victory here. So,
right.
And yeah, as you say, if money starts to flow into PulseChain and it happens to be at the end of the market, and maybe it starts to really perform when other things aren't performing, and then you just get a whole load of FOMO from other participants start to come in,
Right.
Because the best form of marketing is green candles. We know that, right?
We do. I think there's obviously a lot of BS and not the best actors that need to be washed out. So maybe this time is important. Sometimes time is the best remedy, but I think it'll be worth it in the end for those who stick it through. I think this is going to just blow people away. And I have no doubt with a community that you guys have kept together and built with Pulse Bitcoin, you guys are also going to be benefactors of that success. You guys will do really well, no doubt.
100%, man. And there's probably so much stuff that I wanted to say, which I probably forgot to. But thank you so much for having me, dude.
Yeah, we can always chat again, man. So, I mean, what does the future hold right now? What do you see for Pulse Bitcoin? What do you guys, anything big planned, big events, any announcements?
Not really. I think at the moment we're just kind of letting the dust settle. I mean, people, like, if you kind of look at the last few months, man, since June, we've kind of outperformed every other token around. We've outperformed even P-Hex, we've outperformed Pulse, we've outperformed everything. We've had 2 massive pumps, crazy pumps, twice. So people have made some money. They've had lots of opportunity too. Right now, we're kind of back down the bottom. We're in no rush. As I say, some of the whales now, they're actively trying to fund the project. They want to see lower prices, and we're not worried about that. So I would say to anyone that's looking at Pulse Bitcoin at this price, look what it did before when it was at this price. So I'm not going anywhere, and I don't care if you go anywhere or if anyone else goes anywhere, because for me, Pulse Bitcoin is my store of value. It's a project that I'm going to stick with as long as possible. It's a passion project for me. And obviously, I have many other things in crypto I like. I even like the stock market. I participate in all that stuff. But for me, Pulse Bitcoin fits a very unique kind of niche for me. And, being someone that loves Bitcoin. And for me, this is the best version of DeFi Bitcoin I've found. So for me, it will always be part of my portfolio, and I think there's lots of exciting ways that the community are exploring. On a last point, I'll finish up here in a second. I just want to say that if you look at all the people that hold Bitcoin, OG Bitcoin, the big holders right now, they still hold it today, 12 years later. They still hold it. They haven't really sold much, because if you get in early something and hold a large bag, you don't really need to sell that much of it, right? You can like, let's just say 5 years down the line, Pulse Bitcoin's got, really good volume, really nice high price.
Yeah.
You can provide liquidity like some of those people I showed you there doing that. You're essentially mining USDC and you're mining Pulse Bitcoin just passively by locking up your tokens like that. You can just scrape those off, sell those when you need to, just, to pay for little things you need to in life. There's no reason to really ever sell. So I think that's exciting. You've got the NFTs. You can kind of trade those. You can kind of almost mine other tokens with those. And also you can do what I think as crypto evolves, I'm already seeing people start to do it. They can borrow against their assets. So, just the same way as Elon Musk borrows against his Tesla shares, So I think there's so much more to crypto and stores of value, because I don't think a store of value has really been explored in the crypto world. I think it's a little bit early for it, especially in DeFi. But that's kind of the future I see for Pulse Bitcoin, operating for a lot of us as a token we can live off without having to pump and dump all the time, because I think that's kind of the old way of doing crypto.
Gotcha, man.
Yeah, that's it, man. Sorry, nothing immediately exciting, but yeah, stick with it.
Tell us where we can where can people find you, and where
I'm on Twitter, FatSammy. I think it's FatSammy4. You can also
I'll put a link below.
Let's have a look. Yeah, I go through phases. I get really active sometimes, and then I have a little break, because you know how all-consuming crypto can be. But so I'm on Twitter. Whenever something important is going on in the community, I'll always make sure I'm kind of tweeting about it so people kind of know. That's me there. Also, I've got a little YouTube channel. I'll probably start streaming again soon. That's FatSammy Slice on YouTube. And if you ever want to find any kind of like information about Pulse Bitcoin, you go to my YouTube channel. You've got, if you go to the live, you've got loads of live videos over the last year of the recent meetup we had in California. That was really awesome. If you go on the live section there, you'll be able to see the recent meetup in California. That was really good, meeting some of the people out there. Great people. And yeah, obviously we've got the Telegram room. You can find us on Telegram, but just be really careful because there's like a few different scam rooms, where they try and copy the room. And just be. I'd like to point this out. If you do go on Telegram and you find a fake Pulse Bitcoin room, they've got all these scams going like, oh, you need to migrate your tokens or get these new tokens, and please don't do that. You'll get your wallet drained. So Pulse Bitcoin is a finished project. No one will ever DM you. No one will ever ask you to migrate or verify anything. So yeah, that's it. That's where you can find us. And obviously pulsebitcoin.win.
Yeah, and his emails, people can message you with any questions. Or who should they reach out to if they have tons of questions about Pulse Bitcoin?
I'm happy to answer questions. And just to let people know, almost daily we're in the voice chat. There's always people in the voice chat. It's kind of a tradition that's always gone on since day one now with Pulse Bitcoin, that you can always jump into the Telegram. Like you've been in there before. And there's always people hanging out in there. Even talking about other projects.
These guys are on there 24/7. I don't know when they sleep.
Yeah, there's very passionate people. And what's been amazing about this whole thing is we've formed a solid kind of bond of people in the community now. And it's like, we'll go on there and we might talk about Zen. We might talk about this new meme token launching next week. And it's like, we're no longer kind of this kind of die hard, you can only talk about Pulse Bitcoin. It's, Pulse Bitcoin is what we choose as our store of value asset. But, life is real. We have to invest in other projects. So that's kind of how we like it to be now.
Right on, man.
That's it, man.
Thank
you so much for having me.
That's quite an adventure from the beginning of Pulse Bitcoin until now. And, I feel like maybe it's just the beginning. So that's what's crazy.
Oh, we're just getting warmed up over here for sure.
Good God. You already got a trilogy, 3-part series, and you're just starting.
Yes, sir.
That's cool, man. Well, I wish the project the best of luck, man. And, we're going to stay in touch. And, thanks for joining us in this chat and sharing all this. Is very cool. What an adventure you've been on.
Thanks so much for having us on. Appreciate
Anytime,
it, man.
Anytime. We'll do it again.
All right.
All right.
Thanks.
Take care.